Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of We Will Survive. My name is Kathy Brooks. I am a mother, cat mother, psychologist, and a professor. And most importantly, I am a resident of the United States. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the police. So, since the pandemic and sheltering in place and the protest of George Floyd's death by police brutality, my job has been having weekly virtual meetings on racism from different perspectives. So what we actually do is what every week someone else from a different department will speak and give it to us from their perspective, what they know. And a lot of people have talked from what they have experienced. It has been very emotional, very informative. It's very inclusive, it is nurturing, and it's helpful. Now, this week's meeting on Thursday was from the perspective of the chief of police for our school. And so he was the lead speaker, but he also included the rest of the different campuses that we have, all of the police officers from those campuses, and some of the police officers that he either worked with or knew from the county in which our school is housed. So they also joined in and shared their experiences and what they think and all of that. I started not to tune into this meeting because I'm feeling some kind of way about the police, but I've also known the police at my job, and I know that they're very, very kind-hearted people who I don't just take at face value, but I look at the way they treat people, um, and they treat people very well. I look at the way they treat me; they treat me very well. I'm new; I'm only there for a year, and so I'm a person who's slow to warm up. I kind of sit back and watch before I involve myself with people. And so I've had that opportunity, and my experience has been positive. Now, with the police in general, my experiences have not been positive. I've had a lot of negative run ins with the police. While I am not a criminal of any sort, I've had a lot of run ins with the police. Also, I am the mother of a black man, and while my son is an adult and he lives 2,074 miles away from me, I worry about him daily. He has allowed me to use the iPhone app Find My to locate him before I go to sleep, and I'm not going to sleep restfully or even maybe even attempt to go to sleep until I see the address and know that he is in the house. There was an incident. It wasn't a violent incident, and it wasn't an incident with the police that he had a couple of weeks ago, and so we've kind of increased my monitoring, if that's what you want to call it. And so, in addition to my going on the app to find him, he has willingly called me or texts me at the end of the day to let me know that he's home and that he is safe. And I appreciate that. I am not a meddling mother. I don't give unsolicited advice to my son. I do wait until he comes to me and asks me something. We're very close, and so often that is exactly what he does. And I don't give my opinion until and if he asks for it. So we have a really good relationship. However, my son is not a criminal, but he is a young black man in the city of Philadelphia. And sometimes that's all you have to do is be black in a place where people expect black men to behave in a certain way. They leave their front door thinking that black men behave a certain way. They cross the threshold at work thinking that black men behave a certain way. And so when they run into my son, they're not going to know that he is a college graduate. They're not going to know that he's an aspiring musician. They're not going to know that he he has been working for himself for maybe 10 years, maybe more. He's been working for himself. He's doing very well. I'm super proud of him. But they don't know that, right? So I worry about him. I know that the police will pull over a black man. Well, they'll actually pull over a black woman too. But they will pull them over whether they're a criminal or not. They'll say that they look a certain way. And he is my only child. I love him with every bit of my being. And so I worry about him. If I suspect now, my relationship with the police um, is questionable. It's very questionable because I know that they have harassed me. I know that they have harassed the men in my life, and certainly other people. I know that I've seen them behaving poorly. But if something were to go off in my vicinity, I am the first one who will call the police because I believe they are here to serve and to protect. And while my experience may not be that that's what they're doing all of the time, I expect that they will do it. And if I call them and they don't come, which I've never actually experienced that, but if they were not to come, I will call them again. Yeah, I'll call them again and again until they come. Um, and so I have after often, I try to not do this anymore, but I have called the police when I see the police behaving poorly. My son kind of questions that, you know, but if I see them doing something, I think maybe their coworkers should pull their tail on that because if you're not going to behave in a respectful way, how are we going to respect you? And so, yeah, I will do that. And I've had the dispatcher say, "Ma'am, are you calling the police on the police?" Why, yes, I am. That is exactly what I'm doing. And I would like for you to call them and tell them to stop doing X, Y, and or Z. And that's I said that my relationship with the police is very questionable. I have been pulled over by the police. Um, they have threatened to put me in jail. And again, I am not a criminal. They have said to me that they would put me in jail unless I have sex with them. I want to emphasize the fact that I did not take them up on that. But somehow, by God's grace, they did not arrest me. Um, I've had them just pull me over. When I was in the car with my son, I saw a police officer on my left side at a stop sign, and I said, "Well, thank God I stopped because look at that police officer." And they pulled me over anyway. I've had times when I was not respectful of them, um, because that's who I am. Um, I've never yelled at them or hit them or anything like that, but I certainly will speak my mind if I think that they are in the wrong. And God has blessed me, and I understand that that's God's blessing. So, my relationship again is questionable. The men in my life, their relationship is simply not good. Their feelings about the police are not good. Their experiences have not been good. So after I listened to the police at the college and I kind of, heard them say things like, the police departments don't have enough finances. And I believe that. I know that the police do not make a lot of money. I know that the personnel is down. There is one town that one of the officers said that she worked and she patrolled there in this particular town, and there were two people for each shift, which is not really good. I've never been to that town, but I know that when I was looking for some place to live in Arizona, I looked up all of the towns that were kind of near my job because, excuse me, I'm lazy and I want to live near my job. And that city was, if not the top, as far as dangerous were concerned, they certainly were in like the top three. And so to me, to think about a town that is more dangerous as far as crime is considered than Phoenix, which is one of the fifth largest city in the country, and it's a small town. That raised my antenna. So for them to have just four police officers or six police officers, um, that's not understandable to me. They can't possibly do a thorough job. And I know that, excuse me, whenever there are budget cuts, either on the local, the state, or the federal level, or sometimes all three levels, the first places to be cut are social services, and police are social services. So I know they don't pay a lot. I know their revenue is not a lot, and I also am aware that they have a very dangerous job. It is a thankless job for the most part because they're overshadowed by the negative that we see on the news or on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever you see your stuff. So I'm aware that they don't have what they need, in a lot of places to do the job that they are required to do. Get that. I really do. And I wanted to know a little bit about the history of the police, not just in America, period, like in a general state. But I wanted to understand the relationship between Black Americans and the police. And so what I found actually made our current relationship with the police that much clearer. So, policing of Black people in America began during slavery. So, whenever a slave would try to escape, the slave master would hire slave catchers to recapture those people and bring them back to the plantation. Those people wore a badge that looked quite similar to the badges that police wear today. Has the five pronged star, whatever the case may be. And those who were enslaved, they were forbidden to read. So whatever it said around the star, they were unaware of. All they knew is there was a white man with a gun, and they were going to take them back. They want to take them back. That's what they knew. Now, the hatred for the Black man or the Black woman was so intense that the slave owner had to kind of bribe them with a reward for returning a slave, but only they would only get the reward if they brought the slave back alive. And that was their incentive. Otherwise, they would have just killed them, right? And sometimes they were so juiced up on God knows what that they forgot that there was a reward on the table, and they went ahead and they killed the runaway slave anyway. So the slaves, what they did when they brought them back on the plantation, the slave owner wanted to not only punish that slave for running away, but they also wanted to punish or kind of motivate the other slaves on the plantation not to try it. So what they would do is tie that person to a tree, and they didn't even have to tie him very strongly. It was just that they were hugging the tree trunk. And then they would call all of the other slaves from their different workstations and take them over to the tree. And then they would beat them with the whip. And I'm sure people have seen the movies where they beat them and they had all the welts and blood on their back. And excuse me, those welts actually never went away. They healed from the outside, but they never actually went away. And that was to tell that slave, don't you try to run away again. And it was also to tell the other slaves not to even think about it because this could happen to you or worse. And so that was the whole motivational thing with them. So the slaves who have witnessed that had to go and teach their children um, how to behave, how to not be that person on the tree, and certainly how to not be um, the dead slave, right? They had to tell them um, because they could be one of a couple things. They could kill them, they could beat them, or they could sell them off to another plantation where the parents would not see their children again. And so it was of the utmost importance to the parents to get that message clearly embedded into their children, so that they would not be parted and nothing, no harm would come come to the children. Excuse me. So honestly, I mean, maybe people are not beating us in the town square and making us hug a tree, but that story sounds very much like black mothers and fathers today, who have to speak to their children, and um, we have to give, I don't want to call it a lecture, but we certainly have to teach them and teach them sternly so that they understand the severity of what we're talking about. We have to let them know that when you see the police, there are certain things that you should do and certain things that you should not do. So before I came on, I saw this little video of a woman, and somebody was trying to take her children, and I didn't see the beginning of it, so I don't really know the whole story. But what I do know is that the police were there, and they were trying to tell her to do one thing, and she was trying to get her children. And she was at somebody's house, and she was trying to get her children, and they wouldn't relinquish. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. They would not relinquish the children, and the police officer was trying to do something, and she was a little extra, but I get it because that was her kids. But she turned around and she punched the cop, right? And apparently he got it too, because he said, stop hitting me, stop hitting me. And then he said, punch me one more time. And I will give it to him. Like, he had a little bit of patience for her. I guess that he understood the severity of the problem, and he didn't shoot, he didn't tase, he didn't do anything. And I had to get off of it because it was a little too dramatic for me. Um, but I get it because, you do anything for your children. And if somebody were taking my child today, who is 33, if somebody was trying to take him today, those of you who know me know that I can't walk. I can't walk very well, but I could walk for my son. I could learn to walk for my son. So at any rate, we have to tell them. They also get to see the videos on YouTube, the videos on Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever. They get to see all of the videos of police brutality. They talk to their friends. They talk to their relatives. They talk to their schoolmates. They talk to people, and they understand the severity of the consequence with police. They don't beat us anymore and just welt us up. They don't even tase us for the most part. What they do for black people is they shoot them and then they kill them. And so we have to be, I don't want to say I'm scared of the police because that's not the case. I'm not really afraid of them. I'm pretty much afraid of their trigger finger and their gun. Um, that's really where my fear comes in because I don't want to be killed and I don't want my family or my friends to be killed. And quite frankly, I don't want anybody to be killed. But of course, my thoughts go to people that I know first. All right, so we look at the videos and we see a black person asking why they are being questioned by the police. There was a guy who was riding his bike from one job to another job. So that right there, that told me, okay, this is a young man who has two jobs. So right there, like ding ding, that's wonderful, right? So he's riding his bike, so he does not have a car, right? The police said, why are you riding this bike? Okay. he he was calm. He said, "I'm trying to go from one job to my next job." They said, "Well, why are you riding a bike?" Again, asking questions they have no business asking. But okay, he said, "My car is not registered, and so I'm riding. I don't have no. He didn't have a his driver's license had been suspended, and so he really was one of those people who didn't break the law and drive the car anyway. So he was riding a bike. They demanded that he give some ID. He said he didn't have any because he wasn't driving at the time, so he didn't drink. He did not go out of the house with his driver's license, and they fined him. He he got in trouble for that, and that's something that we always have an issue with as the black community, because why is he getting in trouble for riding a bike? Children ride bikes. Like, when did that become a criminal activity that you have to stop somebody? And then the man said he was on his way to work. The police officer actually did not allow him to go to work. If he got to work that day, he did not get there on time. For nothing, though. Not for a reason, for nothing. So, we see videos asking, I'm in a car, I'm driving, minding my business. I see the lights behind me or a hair siren. I pull over to the right, and the police officers comes to the car. Now, if I know that I'm not speeding or I'm not doing anything, I'm not driving erratically, then I'm going to wonder, why I'm being pulled over. So I get my stuff in my hand, my ID and all that good stuff. And then when the police officer comes, I say, "Hello, why am I being stopped?" That's a valid question, right? So I'm handing at the same time. Oh, you don't see my hand. I'm handing him. I have my invisible license and registration and insurance in my hand. It's invisible because I didn't get it, but I have it for the invisible police officer. So I'm giving it to them, and I'm also asking them why I'm being pulled over. I cannot even count how many videos I've seen where the police are offended that someone wants to know why they're being detained. Um, and quite often, when they ask that initial question, that's when they decide that they're going to just, do whatever they want to do. All right. So one thing we want to know in 2020 is, why are we treated so differently from other races, and why so poorly and so with so much disrespect? Why is that? Um, I know one time the police called my house when I was still in Philadelphia, and they were asking me for a donation. They really shouldn't have called me when I was still in Philadelphia, because I was still having like serious run-ins with them, and they were not high up on my list of my favorite people. So they called me to ask for a donation. I said, sorry, I don't have one. So still not rude or anything, but I'm not giving you my money is the essence of what I said. Um, they said, do you feel safe doing that? What do you mean, do I feel safe? Safe from what? Oh no, I'm just saying, you don't want to give us a donation. Do you want us to come to you if something happens to you? Are you threatening me? Because one, I'm not scared of you. And two, that if I call you, you have to come because that's your job. So say that to somebody else. That's all I can really say about that. But yes, they have threatened me. They have said a lot of things to me and done a lot of things. So what we as a community, not just an individual, but as a community, we are seen as people who are other. We're other. So they don't see us as having family members who actually care about us and love us, who will be hurt if anything happens to us. They don't think of us as being friends with someone who care about us. All right. They don't see us as being an entire human being, right? They don't see all of that. They see what history has told them black people are. Black people are violent. Black people do this, they do that. They're on welfare, right? They don't want to work, they're lazy, blah blah blah. All right. So what they don't see is a community of people who care about one another. They don't know that we're law abiding citizens. Even the black police officers don't know that, and that's problematic. Um, They don't see that we're worth sparing death, and that's problematic. They do not see the black community as a group of people. That's it. They don't see us being human. So when we say Black Lives Matter, we are not asking anyone to disregard the lives of others. Instead, we are asking to be seen as human beings who deserve the same consideration as people of other races. We are asking to be seen as people who have families who love us. We are asking to be seen as people who have friends who care about us. We are asking to be seen as humans, not a three-quarter of a human, but four quarters or a whole human being. We are asking that for once and for all, that our lives matter and that they choose not to kill any more of us. We are asking for our community to stop being devastated by police brutality. And some of that police brutality goes above just, you beating us or you killing us, but you're also incarcerating a great number of people who are not criminals, right? And so often you see, I just saw it yesterday where somebody is being released from jail having spent, a large amount of years behind bars for a crime that he did not commit. I know that a lot of people, so many people have said they're innocent when they go to jail that people think it's a running joke. But there are so many people who are truly incarcerated and they are innocent. There was a documentary on, I don't know, I saw that, maybe saw it like 4 years ago, about a young man who was from New York, and he was just walking down the street one day, and he was arrested because he fit the description of a criminal. He was incarcerated, and he could have been let out on bail, but his father did not have the money to bail him out, so he spent time um, behind bars. He spent so much time. He was a very gentle man initially, and what he saw, what he experienced while incarcerated, simply made him go mad. When he was finally released from jail, he had already been psychologically um, messed up. I don't know. He had PTSD. He had so many things going on until he committed suicide. Well, that is part of this whole thing, right? Had he not been racially profiled, had they listened and had some respect for him, had they really tried to find the actual criminal, that young man will most likely still be alive today. Had he not had celebrities actually go to bat for him, he would have still been incarcerated. He may have committed suicide while incarcerated. I don't know. But what I do know is just based on discrimination, that young man is no longer living. So he had a family. They were devastated by every step of that. He had friends devastated by every step of it. So it's not like he didn't live. It's like his life was ended because of racism. So when I say, can we just live? I really mean live, like breathe, like continue to be. So let me say this. I do not believe that all police officers are bad police officers. Now, I say that slowly and deliberately because I have a friend with whom I have this discussion at least every other week. And he is of the mindset that all of them are bad. And I understand where he got it from because maybe a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about it, and he started telling me some stuff that he had not told me previously, and he was telling me, all the times um, that he got pulled over, and they literally planted drugs in his car. Now, this is a man. Um, I'm going to go by the reaction of somebody that he must look harder than what he is, right? Because this is a guy with a wonderful work ethic. He's very responsible. I don't know. He just looks like a man to me. He doesn't look like a. It just looks like a man to me. But he has never done drugs before. He has never even smoked weed before. But they planted some weed in his car one time when they pulled him over, got him out, the handcuffs, the whole thing, and then they planted drugs in his car. So he had to pay for a lawyer. He had to pay like restitution, and it was a lot of fees. He had to go to a drug course. He had to do a lot of things for somebody who never had drugs, right? So the city actually got money off of him for having done nothing. So I knew of one time that he has medication, and for hypertension is not like anything deep. But he sometimes, if he goes out, he'll put it in a little baggie, right? And he'll put it in his pocket just in case he doesn't get home in time to take his medication. He has it with him, and he'll take it wherever he is, right? I don't know about people, but I don't know what illicit drugs look like pills that people take to get high, but I guarantee you can't get high off a medication for hypertension. So this is the one time I knew that he got incarcerated, because and they left him in there for just overnight, and then his license was suspended. Um, his license was suspended. He had to go to a class, and then he had to pay them on top of that. And to make matters worse, in my opinion, they did not give him his medication back. They didn't, but they took his license. He has a gun. He has a legal gun. He didn't have the gun with him that day, but they took his license. Beautiful. So when he talks to me about this, I understand his perspective, right? I mean, I still say what I have to say, but I understand his perspective. So what his perspective is this: if I am working with you and you are a bad cop, and I see you do something, and I don't intervene and correct your behavior, then I am part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution. I cannot actually disagree with that, right? Because when they were protesting for George Floyd's murder, um, there was a man, and they thought this guy was Antifa or something, and the police knocked him over. He's an elderly man. They knocked him down. I'm sure most people saw that. And then there was some other police. They were all moving like toward one direction, and the police officer that was behind the one that knocked the guy down went over to him and attempted to pick him up. And then that police officer turned around and told him to stop. He stopped and went about his business. Well, that makes him complacent. It makes him part of the problem, right? Because just because a human being was down and having difficulty getting up, you should help a person, right? That's the right thing to do. He did not do the right thing. He went along with his coworker. So in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, that gang membership means more to some people than their value system of right and wrong. So then I was listening to this black guy who is a police officer, and I was expecting to hear him say one thing, and what I heard was another thing. What he said was that he is just as afraid as any other black person walking down the street, because inside the police department, they treat him and other black officers the same way they treat us on the street. So that makes it a really questionable place to work. But he became a police officer because he wanted to make a difference in the lives of children and in the lives of the community as a whole. But he has to watch his back all the time, right? Which is, it's not right. So again, we're not asking for special treatment. We're just asking that we be allowed to live and be free. So you remember doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and it says at the end, with liberty and justice for all. And so that word all means a lot. So can we be free too? Or are we still thought of as enslaved people, as property, as things, as opposed to human beings? All right, so thank you guys for joining me. Please come again, tell your friends. Please like, share, and or comment. And I look forward to seeing you right here next Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you. God bless you, and hope to see you then. And I am also, I'm sorry, I forgot to say that I am also um, on YouTube. We Will Survive, a, a discussion with Kathy Brooks. Please see me there. I don't really have too many people who stop by my YouTube channel, so I'm hoping that you will do that. Um, it will mean a lot to me. God bless you. Have a good one. Oh, something is wrong with me.